Hello, welcome back to the Alfology2 podcast. This is the Halloween special, if you could call it that. There's a few things I wanted to do differently. So, Halloween special is not really my style, not really very Halloween-y person. So I thought maybe I'd do something which is essentially a little bit darker than the normal themes of the episodes, but in sort of the style of the podcast. So it's similar to how the podcast normally is, but relates to some very, very loosely Halloween-y sort of topics. And what that sort of ties into is the obsession that people have in the podcasting world with true crime and crime podcasts. There's fucking millions of them. Absolutely loads of them. I'm a member of a number of podcast Facebook groups and stuff, like for picking up little tips about the audio and stuff like that. But what you tend to see is that almost probably half of the new podcasts now are about criminals and crime. And I'd imagine that that's reflected in the audience too, that probably half the new listeners are seeking out crime details. And look, that's not for me, but whatever floats your boat. True crime might be for you. You might be into hearing about some nasty stuff that's happened. So I thought I'd tie that in today. Before I start, just a quick apology to Harry, who's my friend who I was supposed to do this podcast with as a guest. But unfortunately, we now can't do it because I'm moving away. So I'm doing this episode without him. So sorry to Harry. Anyway, look, we'll dive straight in. But what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be covering or talking about some real life deaths caused by powerful people, which weren't criminally prosecuted, which sort of ties into the whole true crime Halloween thing. It's all about death and how it's sort of easy to get away with it if you're more powerful. That's the theme of today. That's what I'm talking about, which obviously is quite serious, but I'm going to try and do it in the style of Alfology2. So maybe it's a little bit lighthearted and weird. I don't know how it's going to turn out. Actually, I've got the deaths written down. I'm just going to talk about them, and we will see how we get on. So look, as I mentioned a second ago, that the best way to kill someone and get away with it is by being rich. So if you have money or if you have privilege, that you can pretty much get away with anything. Yeah, aside from the actual murders, although OJ might have something to say about that, but yeah, apart from like very black and white murders, if you kill someone by accident, the punishment for that is going to be less severe if you're more powerful or if you have more money behind you. And that's a sort of a bit of a problem with like life and society, is that privileged people or powerful people, they treat normal people like we're Alexa. Do you get me? It's like I have Alexa in the kitchen and like she's playing music for me and I go, "Oh, Alexa, turn that fucking thing off." Just treat her like shit. Treat her like she's a slave. And that is throughout history and now how the upper echelons of society treat the lower echelons. And that will come down even to things like the law. And if you kill someone, you get away with it on the basis of the fact that you're privileged. So you even treat people like Alexa in court. If you were to break an Alexa and you were tried criminally for it as if it was a person, you go, well, it's only a bit of fucking kit, isn't it? Who gives a shit about that? Okay, I'll give you some money to buy a new one. That is essentially how the rich and powerful treat the less rich and powerful, which I realise is pretty fucking strong words. So maybe I'll dial it back a little bit. Anyway, I'm going to be talking about people who have been killed in car crashes. That's the theme. So if you have been involved in anything like that, or if there's something very close to you about that, then just a bit of a warning that that's what I'm going to be talking about. And these are real life cases where people have actually been killed. So I've got 3 case studies, 3 powerful people, and no jail time across the 3 of them. The first one I have quite a well-known one these days, wasn't so well-known before, but we'll get to that, is Matthew Broderick, famous actor. Matthew Broderick, he was in The Lion King and Ferris Bueller, so fair fucks to him, he's had a good career, but that doesn't change the fact that when he was filming Ferris Bueller, he was away in Northern Ireland with Jennifer Grey, who was his girlfriend at the time, but that was all a bit like hush-hush, didn't want to know that it's his girlfriend, so I think they went on a holiday to Northern Ireland, so they would be, I guess, under the radar. I think that's the case. Anyway, one night, he's driving, he stops off at a petrol station to ask for directions, and a police officer in the petrol station says, "Nah, don't go that way. It's too dark. It's the wrong way. It's raining. You'll struggle going that way." Matthew Broderick ignores the advice, doesn't take any directions, drives the wrong route, ends up on the wrong side of the road because he's a fucking stupid American twat, and ends up on the wrong side of the road, has a head-on collision with a car, and kills 2 people. So in 1987, there were 2 people in Northern Ireland who were killed by Matthew Broderick for being on the wrong side of the road. Two lives were ended as a result of that. And all because he was sort of dating in secret and refused to take direction from a police officer. The names of the victims is probably semi-important, were Margaret Doherty and Anna Gallagher. It's good to remember the victims, isn't it? So, look, anyway, he was charged with death by dangerous driving. He was very seriously injured in this car accident, by the way. And he claims that he doesn't remember anything. He says no memory of it whatsoever. And look, you can either believe that, you can't. Look, he was very seriously injured. It does happen if you hit your bonds, it can rattle your brain a little bit. So, look, fair enough. Look, he says he doesn't remember anything, but he was charged with death by dangerous driving. And look, if you drive on the wrong side of the road in the rain and hit another car head on, there's a reasonable element of dangerous driving in there, isn't there? You'd say the charge of dangerous driving is probably pretty fucking fair. In what way is it not dangerous to drive on the wrong side of the road in the rain when no one can see you? Look, it's got to be dangerous. He killed 2 people. Anyway, the charge was then changed to causing death by, I think it was either reckless or careless driving, one of the two. I'm not sure if they're the same thing, but death by, we'll call it careless, death by careless driving, he was charged for. And look, you might think there's not a lot of difference in that dangerous driving, careless driving. And you obviously could argue that, if you're on the wrong side of the road by accident, that is pretty careless. But I would argue you're probably a little bit closer to dangerous when you're doing that. Look, the difference between those 2 charges is that one carries prison time. I think it's up to 4 years. It might be 2 years. I don't know what the prison time is for it. And careless driving is a £150 fine. So he was fined £150 for killing 2 people, which is fucked, isn't it? He didn't have to do a day in court. Just get a fine. He didn't have to face up to the family of the people who died in that accident. In fact, I'm told by the internet that he never faced up to them, and he was supposed to meet them in 2003, which is 16 years after the accident anyway, and he didn't. And then he ended up in the Honda adverts. Imagine having a fucking guy who's killed 2 people driving dangerously on the wrong side of the road on your Honda adverts. Fucking nuts. Look, anyway, he avoided prison and gets away with a fine. Probably never been back to Northern Ireland since. Has a massive career after that. In today's society, he would be cancelled. Cancel culture would eat him alive, wouldn't it? Obviously. Like, you get cancelled now for tweets from 2008, calling your mate gay or whatever, don't you? So killing 2 people, and then sort of just getting away with it and leaving the country, you get fucking destroyed like that now, but not so much. And there's very little awareness of it. The only awareness of it, and this is how I became aware of it, funnily enough, is there's a Facebook page. I think it's called Matthew Broderick's Car Accident. Look it up. It's a very good page. It's some decent sort of like humour sprinkled in with the awareness of it, which basically promotes or raises awareness through the use of memes of Matthew Broderick's car accident. I won't go into details. Go and have a look at the Facebook page. So it uses like mainstream memes to link back to Matthew Broderick's car accident, and as a result has got a lot of likes and therefore a lot of awareness of that car accident. So that's how I know about it. And I don't know if that's run by anyone close to it or just, some weird fan or if it's run by a member of the family or just somebody from Northern Ireland. I don't know. I do know that the relatives sort of took a long time to forgive him for it. They know it's an accident. I understood that it's an accident, but, just his conduct afterwards, he didn't pay a penny to the family. Even the bloke's a multi-millionaire. That's pretty cuntish behaviour, isn't it? So, look, that's pretty much Matthew Broderick. That's pretty much how he was not cool. That's your true crime story on him. Although maybe it's probably liable to call it crime, isn't it? True car accident stuff on him. So fucking Halloween specials, all about nasty, horrible car accidents. How do you like that for fucking gruesome, real detail? Look, the second one, all these three are sort of different circumstances, but they all demonstrate a theme of using your influence to get away. And the second one I have is very well known as well, which is Caitlyn Jenner. So Caitlyn Jenner, at the time, she was Bruce Jenner, but obviously we'll call her Caitlyn. And this was in February 2015. She had a car accident where she killed a woman called Kim Howe. In an at-fault car accident. She smashed into her car and hit her car into somebody else's car, and Kim was killed in the car accident. She was famous at the time. Not Kim. Caitlyn was famous at the time for being an Olympian in the 1970s. So already a big media personality, already I think involved with the Kardashians, so already in that media machine, but received no criminal charges for a car accident where someone was killed. So, where you've driven dangerously and killed someone. No criminal charges for that. I'm not saying that, this big point, I'm not saying any people meant to do it. These are accidents. It's not, they're not murders. They are accidents, but still, there needs to be some sort of deterrent for driving like a knobhead and killing people. You can't just say, oh, well, it's an accident. Oh, and he's dead. Oh, and that's a shame. We'll all just move on with our lives. There needs to be some sort of retribution to make people think when they're behind the wheel of a car, oh, maybe I won't drive like a cunt and kill anyone. So, but unfortunately, you only get that if you're a normal person. You can't pay your way out of the charges, which is essentially what Caitlyn has done. At least she did that, and Matthew Broderick just fucking got away with it because of his influence, I guess. They're not going to charge a huge celebrity with causing death by dangerous driving and sending him to prison. But yeah, Caitlyn's essentially ended up with a civil charge against her rather than a criminal charge. No idea why there was no criminal charge, but it's not up to me. I'm not a prosecutor. And she's essentially then paid off in private settlements the family of the people who she killed. So she's basically given them money to not go to trial on that so that the details don't all come out. So no one knows how much money she gave. And as a result, no one knows the public facts of the case because the criminal file will be sealed and the settlement's under seal as well. So as a result, she's basically bought the silence of those people, which is fucked up. If someone's dead, you can't pay them off or pay their family off so that it doesn't damage your career. And there are some very cynical people. I don't necessarily agree with those cynical. Well, I don't agree with those cynical people that say that she did the gender transition in order to put herself in sort of like the limelight of social justice, and therefore become sort of too important to charge with the crime. So, that is a conspiracy theory. Personally, I don't subscribe to it. She did the transition in April 2015, so 2 months after the accident. I don't know if the case was still under criminal investigation at that time, but look, I don't subscribe to that theory. I think that's just people scoring political points. It's just sort of like anti-trans people having a chance to have a pop. That would be my opinion. But that being said, so what they're saying probably isn't true, that she didn't do the transition to help her case. That doesn't need to say that the transition didn't help her case, if that makes sense. So if it was a normal person, just a normal man or woman, anyone, a normal person who has no sort of fame or not necessarily fame, cultural influence. If that was a person with no cultural, obviously Caitlyn Jenner has a fucking huge amount of cultural influence. The year after that, I think she won Woman of the Year, which, as Ricky Gervais pointed out, did nothing for women drivers. Which that's pretty fucking funny joke, to be fair. She won Woman of the Year at the year after. How can you win Woman of the Year when you've killed somebody with your car? And if it was a normal person, person who wasn't going to win Woman of the Year, they probably wouldn't have had the money to pay them off for private settlement, and they probably would have received criminal charges, wouldn't they? Yeah, it's so fucked up that she can kill someone just because she's famous, and she's extremely famous as well. That whole family, they're at the height of fame, and most of them are famous just for being famous. Caitlyn's not, to be fair, Olympian in the 1970s, but that fame and that influence and that power has been used to buy off a family and to avoid criminal charge, which is nuts. If you're going to have Women of the Year, these really influential people, they should be held to account for their actions. If you kill someone because you're driving dangerously, you should go to prison for that. But the thing is, we don't even know if she's driving dangerously because she settled it in private. These things should be in the public. Everything else about her life and their lives in the public domain. So why isn't that? It's fucked up. I know some Halloween specials are supposed to be scary. This isn't scary. Well, it is scary. It's probably more scary than any Halloween special because it shows that you could just be killed by someone on the street. But if they happen to be a celebrity, your death will mean nothing. They'll just get away with it. If a celebrity kills you, they won't give a fucking shit. They'll just move straight on. So, and if you did the same thing, if you or me did the same thing as Matthew Broderick or Caitlyn Jenner, you would probably go to prison for that. In fact, I once witnessed a car accident or a death on the road while I was sat in a pub, and a girl got hit by a car outside. It was very similar sort of circumstances to Matthew Broderick, I guess. Like, he didn't mean to do it, but he was driving too fast. And he was driving too fast along a main road where he knew there'd be people there. And there was a pub, there were people spilling out into the streets, and he could see that from probably 100 yards away. And he ended up hitting this girl, and he killed her. And he went to prison for that, which, I feel sorry for the blokes. He didn't mean to do it. But I think the girl was like 20 odd. It's fucking horrible. She died. But he's a normal member of the public. He didn't have the resources or the fame, to get a lawyer to help him or to exert some influence to get the charge overturned. He didn't have a career to build after that. And once he gets out, his career will be destroyed. He's never going to get over that. Whereas these celebrities, they just get over it. Even if they do get jail time, they'll get over it. But Matthew Broderick just moved on with his career and had an entire career and pretty much never mentioned it again. And Caitlyn Jenner has been mentioned since, to be fair. But, she's one of the biggest stars worldwide. She's one of the most talked about people in the world. But she just got away with killing someone. It's fucking mental. Right, so after that pretty big rant, we'll just move on to the third person that I've got here, which is a footballer called Marcos Alonso. So Marcos Alonso played for Real Madrid, Bolton, Fiorentina, Chelsea, and Spain. I think he still plays for Chelsea. I'm not sure when he last played for Spain. He's a good footballer, Premier League footballer, top level left back. Back in Spain, I think in 2011 it might have been a little bit earlier than that. He was driving over the speed limit, and he had, I think, a 0.93 reading on the breathalyzer for alcohol intake, and he crashed into a wall, and one of his passengers was killed. So, he killed somebody in a car accident because he'd been drinking and was driving too fast, which, is probably even worse than the other ones, because that's okay, it is an accident, he didn't mean to do it, but there's got to be some sort of like criminal negligence in there, hasn't there? If you're drinking and driving too fast, there's got At what point do you just get normal negligence to change to criminal negligence? What level of negligence do you need for that to become criminal? You can't be drinking and going too fast and then kill someone and get away with it. He was supposed to get 4 years in jail, or was supposed to get 4 years in jail. The charge that he was under carries a sentence of 4 years in jail in Spain. Because of the law in Spain, the courts are pretty different. I don't want to call them weird or wrong because it's a different legal system and it's hard to understand if you're not from there. But basically, the case went on for too long because I guess his lawyer made it like that. And as a result, they couldn't get it through to get him to jail. And he paid, I think, a €61,000 fine and a private settlement to the victim's family. And as a result, didn't have to go to jail. So just because he's a professional footballer, he's got loads of money, he could just buy off a family of a girl who was in his car just to say, oh, can we just make this case go away? You know, I'm really famous and good at football, so I really don't want to go to prison, so can I just give you some money and I don't have to go to prison? That's what he did. It's mental. I don't know about the legal system in Spain, but if that you can't just pay someone off so you don't have to go to prison. But that's essentially what he did. He paid a fine and a settlement. Oh, and he got banned from driving for a bit, which is probably fair enough. And now he's 5 years on, or 8 years on from that now. He's made so much money off the back of that. That fine was a very small investment for him to make to then make money as a professional footballer. 61,000, I don't know, 100,000 the family on top of that. It's 160 grand. He earns that in a week now. So, even a minor celebrity, if they pay off, an accident like this, it's a very small investment because it fucking helps their career. It keeps them out of jail. It keeps their career going. And, got his lawyer to frustrate the case. And this is the problem as well, that all these people can afford all these really fucking fancy lawyers. Lawyers, by the way, across the board are cunts. Fucking hell. They'll do anything for money. They are truly, truly awful lawyers. Not all of them. Just don't have any go at any individuals, but the industry as a whole, it's set up. The legal industry is set up to eke as much money out of the clients as possible, and to reach private settlements where a settlement doesn't do anybody any good. Basically, almost no lawyers are in it for the cause. They're in it for money or winning. That's the two things that they get out of it, which power to them if that's what they want to do, but fucking hell, it doesn't do the world any good. And basically on all of these cases, but especially this last one, his lawyer has got him out of going to prison, which was his job and that's what he was paid for. But essentially there's been like, I guess, a miscarriage of justice in my opinion. You can't just go around killing people with your car. It's just not on, is it? I know it was an accident, but it wasn't really an accident. There was negligence there. Look, I'm just getting myself wound up now. So this is the point. The point is that there's one rule for one rule for another, and we know that. You know that you don't have the same rights as people with more money than you. I know that I don't have the same rights as the Queen. The privilege of being famous and wealthy, it's so great that essentially, you think of it as, oh, you might get preferential treatment with your future deals or your house or treatment at a restaurant or whatever it is, but you don't really think of it as, you're not going to go to prison if you kill somebody with your fucking car. It's fucking mental. That is how far this privilege stretches. It's completely nuts. So look, the options are, we either go full Marxist and we eat the rich and behead them in public, which I think that's probably a little bit far for me. Maybe we could just have some sort of, conscious effort as a society to not treat people differently on the basis of whether they're rich or not. And then obviously that feeds into other types of privilege as well, so based on race and gender and that happens a lot. And, some people would strongly argue that white people get a lot of preferential treatment, and that does happen in the judicial sense as well. There's a lot, you're a lot more likely to go to prison if you're black, even on a per crime basis, because the jury are going to be prejudiced against you. Same with if you commit a crime, if you're a man, you're more likely to go to prison than if you're a woman. I think it's like 50% more jail time for the same crime if you're a man than if you're a woman. So this happens quite a lot, and there's prejudice throughout society in everywhere, but in this judicial system, that if you're sort of like rich and white and probably a female, actually, more so than a male, but that doesn't actually come in two of the examples here. You're more likely to get out or go into prison. So that's pretty fucked up, isn't it? That's your Halloween special for you. Everything's fucked up. It's really scary. People could do what they want to you. They can kill you, but as long as they have some power, you'll not stand a chance. I hope that makes you feel better about your life. I'm going to go now. Look, in relation to the podcast, I'm moving to the other side of the planet tomorrow, so there's a small chance that I might not get to do the podcast next week, but I'll try and fit it in at some point. If you don't see it crop up, it'll be about the week after. I'll see you then. Look, big thing for me is if you enjoy the podcast, tell somebody else about it, get them to download it, get them to subscribe on their Spotify or their Apple or their YouTube. Take their phone out of their hand and make them do it. Follow on all the social medias. I'll post little clips there. I'm going to sort of repurpose some of the podcasts into threads and stuff like that. So do follow through social media and keep listening, because we're keeping on going, and I will speak to you either next week or the week after. Thanks very much. Cheers.